everybody have notes? I've got a few. I think I got six notes here. Are we good? And oh, this is our Gary. This is our fifth of seven. I ought to open up notes too. Let me open up notes here too. Fifth of seven. Find out where I am in the notes. One of the seminary classes I went to, I was new, and they would call in these professors from all over, I guess, the world. I don't know. And I took the class where this was a preacher from Chicago, and he was supposed to be really talented, and he had notes, and they called it a syllabus, of course. They passed this all out. I never did find out where he was in the notes. I never, but I enjoyed some of the very best preaching. I ought to tell a story, but I'm not going to now. At least one story from him, okay? It's great. All right, session 5, the miracle of feeding the 5,000. Now, the reason I call this, I realize that the resurrection trumps all miracles, okay? So let's just say amen to that, okay? All right, but this is, we'll call this the most important miracle. Does somebody know why? I would call this the most important miracle. Okay, we'll work on this. We're work in progress. Yeah. Because it's the only one, I think, it's the only miracle that's found in all 4 Gospels. Yeah. The only miracle that's found in all 4 Gospels. All right. Let me see. Now, let's look at it first. Let's look at the feeding of the 5,000 first. 6th chapter. I'm starting with verse 30. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going, and they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leave, recognizing them, ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. So much for rest. Okay. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. And we don't know what that is. Isn't that something? Do you have questions that what is it? What did he say? Well, we don't know. And the bottom line too, we have to trust that what we have is enough to look at. Okay, so we'll think we have enough. Okay. By this time it was late in the day, so the disciples came to eat. This is a remote place, they said. Now this amazes me. Okay. That here you have these guys are going to think they're going to inform Jesus on how things are going. But while we stop here for a minute, do you pick out a character that you are in the story? We usually do that. For one way or another, we do that. And there's really only 3 principal characters here. There's the disciples, which we already started bad-mouthing right away, okay? There's the disciples, and then of course there's Jesus, and then there's the crowd. Okay, so I want you to pick. And by the way, if you pick somebody out that you're going to be through this story, you don't have to remain that person. You know, the next time you read this, yeah, you might want to be somebody else. Okay, is that okay? Okay, good. Oh, by the way, did anybody here ever pick Jesus out to be in the story? You come close? Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay. No, no. You're resistant to that, huh? Okay, okay. We shall work on that. Okay, we'll work. All right. Yeah, sometimes you just really need to be fed. I get that. You know, you're hungry and you need to be fed, so you're one of those that get fed. You know, and sometimes we're the apostles that we're just bungling and fumbling around with things, trying to figure something out. You know, and then there's Jesus. Okay, so we'll work on it. All right. And they said it's already late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. And right away, you should notice that these aren't just poor, homeless bunch of people. You know, these people have funds and money and that kind of thing. Okay, they can afford their own lunch. Okay, given opportunity. All right, and they can surround and find something to eat. Okay. He answered them, you give them something to eat. I just want to bring that up, that's all. Jesus is challenging them to do. Okay? So, evidently it must have been possible. I mean, it would be nonsensical for Jesus to ask you to do something that you can't do. Okay. Well, you give them something to eat. Oh, pastors, I don't know if you figured this out, but a lot of times people will bring jobs to you, or they see a deep need. They see it, and learn from Jesus here. What did Jesus say? Well, you probably need to do that. Lord's calling on you. So I like it. I like it. Okay. All right. And they said to him, that would take 8 months' men's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat? Now, what are they dealing with? Yeah? They're concerned about the how. They're concerned about the how. And remember, when you set goals, you never concern yourself with the how. Okay? All right. We'll come back to that. Okay. And I didn't get a chance, Val, to talk to you. Did you do another more sermon? Because the sermon I heard, the last one I heard was on there is more. Did you do that, or are you? I didn't get filled in on that yet. Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Well, they're worried about having enough money. They're worried about there not being enough. You know, too much hunger, not enough money, not enough food. They're concerned about that. And then Jesus says, how many loaves do you have? He asks them, go see. Right. Then they found out, they said 5 and 2 fish, probably dried sardines of some sort, you know, used as a relish for a biscuit. Okay. Probably. You know, obviously we don't know, but I guess at it, so you would think it's a lunch. Then Jesus directed them for all the people to sit down in groups in the grass. And so they sat down in groups, 150. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. He then gave them to the disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 baskets full. There's more. Let me try that out again, okay? There's more. I think I'll do that again. There's more. There was more. There was more of the broken pieces of bread and the fish, and the number of the men who had eaten was 5,000. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Children weren't really seen as like persons or humans. No. This is a recent phenomenon. We've come to that. Okay, I'm not saying Jesus viewed them that way. I'm just saying it's, so they wouldn't count, and didn't even count. Now, you're not going to find much difference in this reading in Matthew or in Luke, because Luke and Matthew are reading what we just read. And so, there's not much variation. But when you get to John, who's not reading what they're doing, doesn't know what they're doing, he has a lot of information which we don't have here in Mark. And one of them is, where did the lunch come from? Little boy. Yeah. So we get that. We get that out of John. There's several things that we don't have here in Mark that you can get out of there. And I'm not. I think Mark is enough. Okay. And so I'm not. We'll come back to that. Okay. But there are a few other things you could pick up, especially if you go to John. And a lot of people believe that John put this in there, this feeding of the 5,000, because this is John's Lord's Supper, or communion. And if you follow it just a little later, and I think it's next week, we'll be in that particular passage in John again, is where Jesus says, "Eat my flesh. Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can have no part with me." That really sounds like the Lord's Supper too. Okay, so it's probably John's Lord's Supper, but we don't know for sure. Okay. Now this story about eating and having enough is really an Old Testament story as well. When we've already touched on that one, that's the widow of Zarephath. Do you know that story, the widow of Zarephath? Well, let's look at it, okay? Because this is kind of thing. This is the same genre, okay? This is the same main flow of what happened in 1 Kings, I think. I have it down here. 1 Kings 17, is it? Yes, 1 Kings 17:10. Where you have the widow of Zarephath. And this was such an important story. Again, Jesus used this as an illustration in his first sermon. Luke tells us that, okay? Verse 17, I think, 7. The brook dried up, and the Lord came to him. Go at once to Zarephath, to Siddim, and stay there. I'm sorry? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. What? Yeah. That's pretty close to where I'm at, yeah. Verse 8, then the word of the Lord came to him, go at once. the Zarephath? Most of you heard of Joel Osteen. John Osteen had a great book. Some of you might have read it, so it's a small book. A Place Called There. Yes, because the provision's not here, it's in a place called there. And so it says, go at once to Zarephath, okay, and stay there. I have commanded a widow in that place to supply you with food. Wow. So he went to Zarephath. That's a good idea. When he came to the town, the gate, the widow was there gathering sticks. He called and asked her, will you bring me a little water in a jar so that I may drink? You'll see this time and time again in the Bible where there'll be a request for a drink. Jesus does it with the woman at the well. He says, give me a drink. And I always get his name wrong. It was Abraham's servant that was sent up to get a wife for Eliezer. He was sent up there to get a wife, and when he gets there, he had a conversation with God, and he and God had worked that out. And so he said, if I ask a woman, so he asked a young woman for a drink, and she said, well, I'll get you a drink, and then I'll water your camels. I think he had 10 camels. Did anybody ever carry water to it? Just a milk cow. That's a job. My dad traded for a milk cow one time. We had to carry water to it. Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine watering camels. Oh, boy. All right. But anyway, I digress. We'll go on, okay? So he gets there, and there's a woman there. And now let's listen to her, okay? Because people really tell you what's going on in their heart if you listen to them. They'll usually tell you. So bring me a jar of water to drink. As she was going, he said, oh, and bring me a piece of bread. He said, well, I got somebody doing something. I'll just add to them. Just ask them, bring me a piece of bread. I don't think that would go over well today in our society today. I think that probably, who does he think he is? Okay. As surely as the Lord God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread. How many of you know this story? Or at least have some idea? Okay. Is she telling the truth? Well, you're really cautious around that, aren't you? Well, I just, is she telling the truth? No. She has some. Now, I know I'm being so technical. Just forgive me. Forgive me my technicalities here. Okay? Yeah. So she says, I don't have any. She's lying. Because she lives in a world of not enough. That's the world she lives in. Okay? Okay. Oh, then she said, only a handful. Well, now we're starting to get somewhere. Now she's starting to talk about what she does have. Amen? Not what she don't have. Let's go over that again. Now she's talking about what she does have, not about what she don't have. I know I'm just a nitpicker, and that's me, okay? Only a handful of flour and a little oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks now to take home, make a meal for me and my son that we may eat and die. I, I can't, I'm sorry. I cannot get over the people that think the future is dire. I, I, I mean, it's like a pastime that people get into that. We'll come back to that, okay? But she went and she started using what she had, and what did she not only use what she had, but she gave some away. Whoa! Wow! How powerful is that? Just think what a message you send when you say, I not only have enough, I can give some away. That's my life. That's where I'm at. Okay? Wait. Well, she didn't know that. Well, wait a minute. I know what God's doing. Yeah, but she don't know it yet. She's going to know it after. She's going to know. Okay, but she won't figure this out till afterwards. After her and her son live. After the jar will not run out of meal, nor will the jug run out of oil. Usually we do like this woman, we figure it out afterwards. Oh my gosh, I remember. I remember now. Okay? I love these old prophet stories like that. I just love them. How about the one with the widow? Her husband died, and it's almost like she complains to the prophet that he should have done something about it or something. I don't know. And said, what am I going to do? I'm in debt, and it's going to come and take my two sons and make slaves of them. I've got to sell them into slavery in order to pay my debts. And the prophet said, go gather a bunch of jars and stuff from your neighborhood there. And don't gather just a few, by the way. Gather jars and go in the house and shut the door. Val, what'd you say? So they got all the jars and they took them in, somewhat like this here. And then pour up what oil you do have. Well, they started pouring, and the oil didn't stop till when? Who knows when the oil? What? So who actually put the limit on that? They did when it's what they collected, put the limit on. Okay, that's good. You ready to go back now to the 5,000? Let's go back to the 5,000. Okay, this is a story that in Israel, okay, and it's an important story, okay, and of course, has anybody in here really been hungry? Have you? Yeah, I haven't been hungry, okay, but for these people that we're dealing with, hunger was a pretty common commodity, and it wasn't unusual for people to starve to death. Have you any idea what it takes to starve somebody to death? I mean, what a gruesome, drug out thing that is. I mean, it just, and that was fairly common. You'd have a famine in the land, and it wouldn't be just an inconvenience. It's people who die. So, okay, let's go back to our story of about 5,000. So this is in their experience. Okay. So the disciples thought they'd want to give some advice to Jesus on what he ought to do here. I can't get into that. That's crazy. Yes, we do. I'm guilty. Yes, we do. Okay. And the only reason I bring it up is so we learn to do it less. Okay. So I bring that up. Okay. And then the 5,000 are out there, and they don't have anything. So if there is in this story something that we might learn, is anybody ready to play the part of Jesus yet? Okay. Nobody. So you can learn how to feed 5,000, and it's right here in the story. It's staring at you right now. Okay. Number one. This is number one. Is what do you have? That's number one. There's just going to be 3 points to this. Isn't that all sermon's supposed to have 3 points? This is point number one. Is whatever you do, you feel that there's something you ought to be doing, some task you've taken on, some goal that you have, some project that you've got. First of all, once you've identified, if it's a problem, once you've identified the problem, never bring it up again. Only talk in terms of solutions. Jesus asked him one question. What do you have? And we already learned from the widow back at Zarephath that people tend to lie to you about what they got. And you can call it a psychological problem or whatever. I don't care what problem you call it, what you name it, is people will do that. They don't realistic deal with what they have. The future is dire to them. Hopefully not to you, amen? So you deal with what you... Now, sure, we know the story of David and Goliath, don't we? I mean, I love that. You can't get tired of that story. It was so good, okay? And it's lived for centuries to encourage us and for a good reason. It's true. Okay. Now, when you think about David and Goliath, when did David do a realistic assessment of what he had? Think about that. Oh, I love that line. If you haven't used that line lately, use that line on something, someplace, sometime. Just even if you only do it yourself. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine anyway? I want to press you, though, to be more practical. Dare I say that? What? Okay. Heidi, get in on it, Heidi. Come on. Oh, okay, now. And who did he tell that to? Saul. Saul. Yeah. So he had his experience. He brought his experience there. Keep going, Jamie. Keep going. I see you're on it now. Come on. Yeah. And what else did he learn? Was in Saul's tent there. What else did he learn? I can't go with this. But what did he have? Somebody already mentioned he got a sling. And the rock, but he got him out of that wadi down there where God had them placed there, and they've been waiting there centuries for him to get there. And all he has to do is bend down and pick them up, put together with his experience and with his sling. And what does he do? Puts the life on his face. Take a realistic inventory of what you have. That's number one. Okay? We got number one. Tell me about it. What is number one? Stop talking about what you don't have. Only talk about what you do have. Take a realistic inventory about what you have. All right? Well, what do you have? Well, okay, let's look around here and see what we got. We got to come up with something. Okay? All right? How many loaves do you have? Since you don't have enough to feed a whole bunch of people, how much do you have? Well, I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I just see this little boy. We got a little boy here. He's got his lunch. He's willing to give that. Well, get it. Get that lunch. Okay. His mama said, them other kids might go hungry, but not her boy. Her boy has lunch. Amen? Yeah, okay. Now, once you talk about what you do have, what's the next step? Right there in the text. I'm with you, Tammy. You're exactly right. But he gives. What does he do? He gives thanks. That's not a little thing. That's important. It will change your direction and perception of your mind. Instead of complaining about what you don't have, if you start giving thanks for what you do have, you can't imagine what that will do to you in your life. So all we have to do is follow what Jesus did. It is so simple. Give thanks. Instead of giving in the morning, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too smart, I'm too dumb. And the list can just go on. And you start down that street, I'm telling you, there's nothing good down at the end of that street. Get off that road and get on the road of what I do have. And the road of gratitude. Start thanking God for what you do have. You'd be surprised what will happen to us. You will be surprised. Dare I say God might work miracles? Amen? Okay. All right. We're good? Now, what's the next thing he does? Give it away. Or at least do this. Start giving it away. Because once you start giving it away, there'll be what? More. There'll be more. And then after you give that away, there'll be more. Because there is enough. Amen. 12 baskets we know of in this case. Okay. 12 baskets we know of in this case. It's a very simple outline. Rule number 1, take a realistic inventory of what you do have. Do not be optimistic, because all that shows is your lack of faith and your concern that you might not have enough. Don't be pessimistic, because that's not true either. Take a realistic inventory about what you do have. One might say just be ruthless at doing that. Be ruthlessly honest when you do that. Okay? You don't have to pretend. You don't have to put some nice face on it or anything. Just be honest. And if you don't have eyes to see, start praying about eyes to see. Okay? Just ask God to give you eyes to see. Some folks don't. Prophet was caught and surrounded by an army. And he was calm and as he could be. And here come the servant. Oh, my Lord, what shall we do? What shall he's got to? Oh, it's a dire future for him. What shall we do? And Lord, the prophet simply prayed, Lord, open his eyes so he can see. He wasn't seeing enough. He wasn't seeing enough. And all of a sudden he started to see. And guess what? His fears vanished as his sight came in. Yeah, amen. Okay. Let me see. So, we got thank you and then give it away. I think I've covered everything. 3-point outline. Take an inventory. You got something to do. What do you have? Take an inventory. Number 2, give thanks for what you do have. Okay? Don't try to wear Saul's armor. Give thanks for what you brought. You brought a sling. That's just what you need. Okay? So be thankful. And if you can see it, you are prepared for it. That is, God has made you and constructed you to do that. All right? Give thanks. Give thanks. I know sometimes it's hard. I understand sometimes it's hard to give thanks for ourselves. Okay, but we got to do that. Okay, for what we bring to it. We just got to learn to give thanks for ourselves. You don't have to be boastful or anything about that. Just be honest about it. Give thanks, okay? And then as soon as you do that, what do you need to do? Start giving it away. Start giving it away. Start spreading it around. And the Lord will bless you. Well, I'm going to close tonight, but I hope you are learning to feed the 5,000, okay? And you'll feed the 5,000 in your life, regardless what it is, all right? No. No. Amen. And just let me pick up and piggyback on that, Joan, is to say, if you just look at David, and I always view him like a 14-year-old. I don't know how old he was. I don't know anything about that. You might know more than I do about that. I don't know, but I'm gonna pick him up 14 years old, and he's went to see the big people of war. That was his brothers. They were the warriors, and they were the ones that was in the service and that kind of thing. And he's just there to visit with them. And as soon as he starts getting interested in doing something, they call him boastful, this and that. Okay, but what we need to learn to see is when you see David walk up there, to know, because we know the story, right? We know the story, is to be able to say, look at him and say, he is perfect for the job. Can you get what I'm? Obviously, he was. He took him down with a stone, and then and anything you don't have, Lord's bringing it to you. He didn't have. David did not have a sword to cut the guy's head off. The giant brought it to him. What? The giant brought it to him. That giant blessed David 100 different ways. Oh, yeah. It was killing the giant that propelled him to the kingdom. Yeah. And I'm glad you picked up on that, Val, because David was a little target. This guy couldn't see very good. David scurried around outside of his peripheral. He's looking for hand-to-hand combat. But David ain't doing hand-to-hand combat. David was perfect for the job. He is perfect for the job. And he needed to thank God upon arrival, which I think he did. I thank you for who I am and what I am and what I come here with. Thank you. Why? Because I'm perfect for the job. Okay? Amen. Gary, you going to say something? Sure. Yeah. Had good acoustics. Amen. Yeah. Amen. Amen. Now, next time it'll be a little bit rougher. Next session will be a little bit rougher. I had a clothes packed in that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what size of baskets they were. I always, when I hear this, I think of a bushel basket. If you remember what a bushel basket, I always think of a bushel basket. But my mind goes wild with that stuff. Okay. Now, yeah, next week will be a little tougher. That is as it should be, because that'll be Holy Week. That'll be in the middle of the last week. We'll be celebrating last week. So, yeah, so we'll want to do that. You didn't write it down. 3 things. Take a realistic inventory of what you have. Give thanks for what you have, and then give it away. Okay.